Bill Davidson, in many ways like his mother, Sarah Wetsman Davidson, was a very strong-willed, very dynamic.
He was a man of few words, but in those few words he conveyed many important messages.
Bill always used to say, if you're not moving forward, you're standing still.
He had the vision to turn what was basically a small fabricating company to one of the 4 major glass manufacturers in the world.
He was an unusual thinker.
What was the best? What was the state of the art? Always a step or two ahead.
There's no way you would ever predict what he was going to answer.
He loved a story, a joke.
He never looked back. Never.
He had simple desires. He had a love of family.
He was a tremendous athlete and fan of athletics. Hockey games, baseball games, you name it.
He was a wonderful son. He was a wonderful brother.
He was a great guy. My parents talked about the importance of integrity and hard work, but right after that was tzedakah, a charity. If you are lucky enough to have a good life and have a lot of opportunities, you have an obligation to help others.
Bill loved Hadassah because of his mother's love for Hadassah and the relationship she had with Henrietta Szold.
Henrietta Szold had come to Detroit very early on and had stayed at my great-grandparents' home. That really was the genesis, I think, of the Detroit chapter of Hadassah.
He remembers as a young child his mother getting in a family car or going to the train station and leaving the family house for weeks on end to do Hadassah's work.
We called her the great volunteer.
And Bill remembers that at a time when women would stay home, here was his mother doing the work that she loved.
Sarah was a woman of strong opinions, strong values, and Bill inherited that from her by osmosis, I would think. They were so much alike. He really strived to make the world a better place. And his work in Israel is a true statement to that.
Bill Davidson's involvement with this hospital tower, it's really a magical story in many ways.
I call Mr. Davidson. You never called Bill Bill. It was always Mr. Davidson.
They wanted to present the hospital tower concept to him.
And he says yes, and we make a date. Put down the phone and I say, oh my gosh, Sidney, we're going to meet this man.
The clouds parted, and through the clouds came Judy and Sidney.
And we find Mr. Davidson to be a very charming and relaxed man.
The first hour was really Bill and Judy and Sidney talking about their Hadassah legacy. This 80-something-year-old man, and Bill Davidson, was rekindling childhood stories that related to Hadassah.
Bob Aronson has told me ahead of time, no one asks specific monies to Mr. Davidson. So we just talked the project, and we explained the needs for this new building.
And Bill, to his credit, said, no, this isn't for me.
I look at Sidney, and he does this facial expression that says to me, you know, you don't always succeed no matter how hard you've tried.
A short while later, Bill called me and said, please invite Judy and Sidney back to Detroit. I have a proposition for them. What had transpired was that Bill Davidson found a letter that was handwritten from Henrietta Szold, addressed to Bill's mother, and encouraging Sarah to continue with her work with Hadassah, and something happened to the letter. When he misplaced the letter, it struck an chord, and he called Judy and Sidney back.
And he then turns in his very nonplussed way and says, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you $75 million, and it will be paid over 5 years, and it is going to have the name of my mother on it.
Bill Davidson didn't misplace the message and the meaning of that letter and the importance of Hadassah. Bill wanted to provide a gift that kept on giving.
He did see it as a means to an end, and the end was to help other people. And Hadassah is a great way to do that.
A very generous man who looked beyond his own shores to give back to the people of Israel.
I can't imagine a more wonderful memorial to my grandmother, Sarah Wetsman Davidson, than to have this tower of healing.
He knew what Mother would have wanted, and he did it.
She was a true Zionist, and Bill, out of respect for her, gave this gift.